What's up, guys? I just want to make this video about how I feel being a patient gamer these days just makes more sense than ever. And particularly, I'm going to be talking about Battlefield, but I'm also going to be talking about a few other games as well. Specifically, the roadmap for Battlefield they just unveiled somewhat recently. I know I'm a little late on it, but let's just get right into it. Just revealing that roadmap, I was like, okay, they're giving us the server browser now. They're gonna give a feature that's never been there in Battlefield before, I'm pretty sure. Prox chat, which is honestly gonna be really cool because I feel like a lot of other games do prox chat and I feel like it's fun, you get some interesting moments. So I think that's gonna be a very good dynamic add to Battlefield. And then also just like in general, we're gonna get bigger maps, which obviously I feel like Battlefield has always been that type of game where it's just like a big sandbox and you just wanna play in these big maps. I feel like at launch, me personally, I feel like most of the maps were a little too tiny. And maybe they didn't want to have like a mistake where they did on 2042 where the maps were just too big. It felt like a bunch of barren space. 2042 had a lot of other mistakes too, where I'll talk about that. But I feel like at launch, the maps weren't that big. But point I'm getting to is that Battlefield roadmap. I'm like, why was some of this stuff not here at launch? Like, the server browser, what was preventing them from putting a server browser at launch? What was preventing them from doing prox chat at launch? I don't get it. And we didn't even really get a real date on when that's gonna come out. So like, we still don't know. Is that gonna be a season 4 thing? Is that gonna be a late season 3 thing? We are unsure. We didn't get a confirmation of when that's gonna come out. So does it even make sense to, buy these games day one, spend, $70 plus tax on these new games when like the features are slowly rolling out that you feel like they could have had at launch? And I'm not talking about like, obviously there's gameplay related features. They do Battlefield Labs, they do all that. And you get features like, not features, you get like season pass, all that stuff and new maps and everything. That's understandable that obviously you're just expecting that throughout the season, kind of for a live service game. You're expecting quality of life improvements with like weapon tweaking and patches for things that don't make sense. That all stuff is normal, but like a thing like a server browser or even having just a couple like bigger maps at launch, like even like I know we're gonna get, now we're getting a naval map that is, I don't think that was in the base game at all, like a naval warfare. So why was that not there? I mean, I feel like it's Battlefield, big sandbox. That should have been probably part of the launch maps. I don't know. But it's just like, and I'll admit, I bought the game at launch, and I feel like a lot of people do buy these games at launch because of their friends. That's what happened. I was like, all right, some of my friends are getting in. I was gonna wait a little while, see how it goes after buying 2042 very close to launch. See how this one goes, and also they did a lot of good marketing for this game. I mean, they gotta pay these marketers. The people who make the trailers, they always cook. So they're always gonna get you with the trailers. That's literally what I feel like Battlefield's great at, making trailers. They had that whole thing with all the streamers playing the game, like massive promotion. And the game sold well. The game sold very well. I think it was the best-selling game of 2025. I'm pretty confident. And so it's like, okay, you did a very good, launch. That's like, I feel like there's 2 steps. You have to have a good launch and you have to have a good post-launch. And if we're going back to like 2042, did not have a good launch, but in 2042's defense, I do want to mention this. I played a lot of 2042 when it came out, and they reworked every single map. They tweaked things, they fixed it all, but like, at the end of the day, it wasn't really like, it didn't feel like Battlefield. And by the time they reworked every map, fixed a lot of things, a lot of the community was already gone. And I think near the end of 2042's lifestyle, now you might say, oh, you're looking at it with rose-colored glasses. Every time the new Battlefield comes out, you look back at the old one. No, I was playing it pretty much to the end. Even that last map they released Wake Island, which I feel like they release on every Battlefield. Even that last map they released, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing Breakthrough on it. I think it was one of the more fun breakthroughs, a very hard breakthrough, by the way. It's like you start off on like the boats, warships or whatever, and you're sailing to shore. But honestly, I thought that was epic. So yeah, off a little side note there, 2042 had a bad launch, but I would say, me personally, they had good post-launch support. And I feel like Battlefield 6 had a great launch. And then it seemed like the post-launch support up until this roadmap was kind of slow. I feel like there's very few games that get both really right, like in the sense of like live service games where it's like you have a great launch and great support right after, for most live service games. So I think Battlefield was in the middle of that. I was like, oh, I feel like they're not doing enough right now, until they did that roadmap. So I guess they were cooking behind the scenes, but I almost feel like I could have just bought the game like months later for a little bit cheaper. And I feel like just being a patient gamer would just pay off in that. So, I mean, that's how I feel about Battlefield specifically, but like there's a couple other examples I just want to mention too, that like I felt the same way. Obviously, I'm a big Cyberpunk fan. Cyberpunk, that was another example where it's like, I actually did not buy that game off the rip because just the performance was so bad. They had an abysmal launch, but they had great support after that. I didn't even buy Cyberpunk till they released the PS5 version. I didn't even touch it, and it got a lot of hate, and honestly, rightfully so, just because it had so many issues going on. But after all the patches and everything, and the expansion dropped, I mean, Cyberpunk is definitely one of my favorite games. CD Projekt Red, they always cook, and it did take them some time to get it right. But I think now, if you look at the Steam reviews, look at the PlayStation reviews, all the reviews for Cyberpunk are very good. And I think that's another example of like just being a patient gamer. Like, you could have waited all the way till at least the expansion was out, and you probably get that game like 50% off. And it's in a lot better state with the patches. I mean, they did, for people who played Cyberpunk, they did a whole overhaul of like the entire skill tree and everything, like massive post-launch support. So, I mean, another example of being a patient gamer, I have one more, but I haven't personally played this game, and that would be No Man's Sky. I heard, it had a really bad launch, and I've personally never played this game, but I do see they are still releasing content to this day. Like, that is great support. And yeah, they're a small studio, and so like it doesn't cost too much overhead for them to do it. Every time I've read that every time they release new content, they get a couple more sales trickling in. They have a small team, so like they're able to do that. But at the same time, if we're relating this to like Battlefield, EA, if you're the best-selling game of 2025, you have enough room to do support. So like, I really hope, just going back all the way to Battlefield, going full circle, I hope they support this game for a long time, because I personally really don't want like Battlefield 7 within like, I don't want it to ever be, it's like next year we're already churning out the next Battlefield. Like, me personally, I think at minimum 2, but like 3 years, I think that also gives a lot of time for the game to just build up the community, build up everything. And now that you're giving these server browsers, and you're also giving the platoons, just things people like, and just building up the community, building up goodwill in the game, I hope Battlefield sticks to just maybe a 2 to 3 year cycle of releasing the games. I don't think we need a new Battlefield super often. I'd much rather have them refine the existing game more, give us new maps, give us, more quality of life improvements. But yeah, I wouldn't want a game that often. One game, I want to make one last point. One game I particularly is waiting on, and I'm a huge fan of the series, is Borderlands. I've played all the Borderlands games except the pre-sequel. I still gotta play the pre-sequel, but every Borderlands game except the pre-sequel. And actually, that's a lie too. I didn't even play the Tiny Tina's Wonderland, so I'm just straight up lying. I played a lot of the Borderlands games. I love Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3, but I feel like if you buy the Borderlands games like right when they come out, it's just so much more expensive with all the DLC that comes out, everything that comes out. I'm just like, I'll just be patient here. So I mean, that's That's honestly should be the biggest example for being a patient gamer. Is like you buy it immediately and buy all the DLC, you're spending like probably like upwards of $150 for everything. But if you just kind of wait until the game's been out like a year and they give like whatever, you know how Borderlands calls it, or super ultra deluxe edition time, like they have some crazy names. But I'm just gonna wait till that comes out for Borderlands 4 personally. But I do have some friends who played it already. I'm just like, yeah, you'll play it again with me when the new maps come out. Not new maps, like new expansions come out. They increase the level cap and you have to regrind for everything. If you play Borderlands, you know. So yeah, but I know I just went on a very long ramble, guys. But that's how I feel about just the game industry and just being patient with games, and how I feel about Battlefield's roadmap and all these game roadmaps. Just release all the stuff that like should have been there day one. Just try to do it immediately. And I feel like that's never gonna happen for some of these game developers. So I say honestly, just wait to buy these games, because they do get lower price. And I feel like by the time Battlefield has, you know, a feature I've really been waiting for, which is the server browser, I feel like when they finally have that server browser out, the game's probably gonna be like, I don't know, I'd have to check prices right now, I haven't checked, but like $40, $35, I don't know. But yeah, I think being a patient gamer just pays off. Thank you guys for watching. That's all I got for you today. Have a good one.